Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to be reviewing Tasty Humans from Pangea Games. Tasty Humans is a game in which you play a monster, in this case a dragon, but there are several options available, and your goal is to eat as many adventurers as possible and fill up your belly with the most satisfying human confections. In a multiplayer game, the game will just continue until the first player has filled their monster's stomach. And in a solo game, you just continue playing against the AI until you have filled your monster's stomach. The winner of the game will be the one whose monster is most satisfied, and of course the most satisfied monster is also going to have earned the most points. Every monster will have a special bonus that is specific to their monster. So for example, the legendary dragon gives you 5 points for each 2x2 square of the same type of body part tile. Options in this game include hands, boots, chest plates, and helmets. Delicious. And how we fill our stomach with these parts? Well, we're going to choose from the adventurers over here who are coming to try to destroy us, but actually we're just excited to eat them. If, for example, I just want to take this peasant, I would take the card, and then I would place a boot, a hand, and a chest plate in my monster's stomach. So you can rotate the card. You can't mirror, but you can rotate. So let's just say that I want to do it the standard way. I would put a boot, a hand, and a chest plate up at the top of my monster's stomach, and then I would slide them down. One thing that's interesting is that if, let's say that I had just a smaller configuration over here, the tiles break apart when they fall. So things don't stay necessarily in the same shape once they enter your monster's stomach, and you have to be paying attention spatially to where you're dropping your adventurers and their component parts. Many adventurers are more complicated than mere peasants, however, and that is where the game gets fun. Swordsmen and archers are experienced monster hunters, and they are after you, and that means that they do have the capacity to do some damage to you. For example, if I just took this swordsman here, no problem. Nothing can hurt me. However, if I took this captain, this swordsman would stab me in the process of grabbing the captain, and the same with the peasant. Archers can injure you from 2 orthogonal spaces away. So when you're drafting cards from this offer, you have to pay attention to what is available there and what kind of injuries you might take. When you take damage, you have to place a damaged tile in your stomach. You can drop it in any column you like, but be careful. It doesn't necessarily take away your points immediately, but if at the end of the game 2 damage tokens are touching each other inside of your stomach, that does cause negative points to occur. Some of these other adventurers also have special powers. For example, the wizard causes just a little bit of indigestion and allows you to swap 2 orthogonal tiles within your monster's stomach. A cleric allows you to heal some damage, and a captain, because they are a captain, causes either their row or their column to run away because they were the leader once you've taken them. The direction will be determined by the direction on the arrow on the captain's flag, in this case, vertical. So if I were to take the captain, these 2 cards would also flee. In a multiplayer game, you're not only thinking about yourself, but about what other players might draft when you make decisions about which adventures to take from the offer. Fortunately, the AI does replicate this in solo mode, which we'll discuss in a moment. The last thing to talk about is leader tiles. Each round, you're randomly dealt a leader tile that, based on its position in relation to other tiles in your stomach at the end of the game, can get you some bonus points. For example, this one will get you 2 points per hand that is diagonal to this tile. At the end of each round, you will drop this tile into your stomach, wherever you like that it will fit, and then you and the other players draft to decide which leader tile each player is going to get next. In multiplayer and in solo, the player who will get to draft a leader tile first is the one who has the most crowns on the cards they drafted during the round. The solo AI for Tasty Humans gives you a challenge that mostly replicates the experience of playing multiplayer, but with more simple automated turns for the AI. The AI will draft cards each turn, but it does not have a monster board. It's just going to take 2 cards based on the card that you took, either the other 2 cards in the column or the other 2 cards in the row. If you've cleared out your column or row because of a captain, the AI will draw off the top of the deck and will always take 2 cards. It will use the crowns on the cards that it takes to compete with you for first pick of a leader tile. And you will have your choice of 1, 2, or all 3 of the leader tiles based on how you stacked up against the AI in terms of crowns collected during the round. At the end of the game, the AI will score based on class type of the cards that it's collected and the number of tiles on each of the cards that it has collected. So as you play, you need to pay close attention to how many wizards the AI has taken, and whether you're about to give multiple 4-tile cards to the AI instead of a couple of twofers. And it's easy to increase or decrease the difficulty of gameplay against the AI by giving it more or fewer extra adventure cards to start with at the beginning of the game. So while the AI doesn't play the exact same way that you do, it does force you to pay attention to the draft and to think about the same things that you would think about in a multiplayer game, such as number of crowns on your cards in order to successfully compete. So now for some final thoughts. I'll say up front that I really wanted to love Tasty Humans, but it doesn't quite do it for me, and I will tell you why. There are a lot of things that I really like about the game. Primarily that it's sort of a Tetris-like spatial puzzle, and I absolutely love those. Choosing which adventurer to take, trying to figure out which way is best to drop their component parts into your monster's stomach, rotating the card around and thinking about what to do next, all of that is good fun, and I do like it. I also do largely like the way that the AI is designed. It's fairly streamlined in a way that still keeps a lot of the tension of the multiplayer game, especially which cards to draft, intact. And it does that while also giving you a fairly challenging opponent to score against, especially if you choose to go against a higher level AI. However, the game does have a couple of drawbacks, or really more like one drawback that resurfaces at various points throughout the game, and that does diminish my enjoyment. And I think overall what I would call it is a lack of efficiency. I feel like this game could have been a lot more streamlined. The box says that it's a 30 to 60 minute game, and actually I think I would have liked it better as a 15 to 25 minute game. I would have liked a much tighter game, and I think there are a few things that make this game not as quick playing and speedy as I want a game of this weight to be. Part of it is that there are just so many little parts. I completely understand that the shapes on the adventurer cards need to be made up of little individual tiles, especially because those tiles break off as they fall in columns in your stomach. Conceptually, it makes a lot of sense. However, I found that dealing with all of the little tiles actually ended up being kind of a pain. Everything just takes longer than it should. Pulling them out of the piles, arranging them, and then pushing them down in a shape that stays intact to the bottom of your stomach to make sure that everything is lined up correctly. It's all just kind of finicky. And on top of that, multiple times while playing this game, I have gotten up, bumped the table, and knocked all my tiles out of place and been extremely irritated at myself, but also at the fact that there's so many little tiles all over the place. Also, while the solo AI works fine, there are little aspects of it that are annoying to remember and that therefore kind of took me out of my immersion in the game. For example, the first player token, basically, you always go first in a round against the AI, but there's a token that you swap back and forth that determines whether the AI is going to clean out the row or the column that you draft from on your first turn. And I, for the life of me, can never remember whether the AI is supposed to take 2 cards from the row that I just drafted from or from the column. And I had to look it up a bunch of times, and I found it very stressful unnecessarily, just trying to remember a rule that didn't have any thematic purpose. So remembering exactly what to do didn't come naturally. Counting up your score at the end can take a little bit of time because you're looking at this whole filled up grid of your monster's stomach, and you're done playing the game, so you kind of want your score quickly, but sometimes it took me a little too long to calculate how much I'd scored because I would miss something or have to look twice. And while the AI scoring does make sense, basically you take each card class and square the AI's number of cards in each of those classes, you also have to add on the number of tiles that are represented on each of the cards that the AI has collected. So you also have to sit there and just count. I mean, it's not that bad, but when I'm ready to kind of move on to the next game, it feels not snappy enough for my personal taste. And normally I'd be fine with all of this. I play a lot of really huge, crunchy, impractical games that have a million pieces and are super annoying. But Tasty Humans is a light game, and it's one that I want to hopefully play quickly and then set up again right away. I want it to be Tasty Humans and also Snappy Humans, and it just isn't. And with a lot of other fun Tetris-inspired games out on the market, notably things like Cartographers or perhaps Isle of Cats, Tasty Humans has a lot of competition, and I'm not sure that I would choose it over other games in that relative genre. That said, it's not a bad game. It works really well. I really wanted to love it, actually, but it just didn't quite hit the spot for me. And for that reason, I give it a 6 out of 10. Happy gaming.